Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And if you haven't been following my stream, I have recently hit 3,000 rating. And in that process, my team managed to pull off a 2 versus 3, which I'm going to be going over in this video specifically. I'm going to be talking about what my team is doing in the match, what we're looking to achieve, to be able to find victory against our opponents. Particularly as a balanced druid, I am noticing feral druids to be quite a difficult specialization in particular. Their healing output and their bleed damage can get around a lot of your defense as a balanced druid and prevent a lot of your offense. So it is very important to crowd control both the feral druid and the holy paladin whenever you are trying to do any sort of damage. You can use this with stuns and with cyclone particularly. I'm playing with a death knight and a holy paladin. To my understanding, the only team currently running this composition, but I've had a lot of fun with it. I would recommend it to anyone, especially even if you're lower rated. If the Paladin is Venthyr and the Moonkin is Night Fae, it gets even juicier. That's really amazing at low rating. But regardless, at the start of the fight, my main goal is to try and find one of the stealth classes, be it the mage or the feral druid. So my Death Knight finds the mage with Death and Decay. And then I want to play far away from my paladin so that the mage has to blink to get to the paladin. They actually double blink and combust, and because that commitment was multiple cooldowns, we allocate a blessing and protection from my paladin, and we drop anti-magic zone to counter the combustion. This is more than fair trade. Now that we've survived, crowd control their paladin, root solar beam. This is where you want to go for a stun onto the DPS. So Death Knight can use AoE stun here with Syndragosa. This way the paladin is stunned and the feral druid is stunned. This way, you're going to get the most effective amount of damage. This is going to be the scariest moment. You can see we can continue crowd controlling the paladin with Cyclone. Then when we know that we're not getting the kill anymore, it's time to start spamming Cyclone on the DPS. I Cyclone the feral druid. This gets a medallion. I cyclone the mage. The mage chooses to sit in this, and now we're on defense. And you've got to flip the switch quite rapidly. And then we actually get aggressive onto their holy paladin. However, during Avenging Wrath, it is very difficult to kill, so I just knock the mage off the side. You really want to abuse that on maps that have a knockback available, and then I root the mage really far away from the fight. You always want to use that second Mass Entanglement. Mass Entanglement's a 30-second cooldown, so you use the first one to combo with Solar Beam, and then you want to slide that second one in 30 seconds later on the dots, as close to it as you can on a DPS to try and annoy them a little bit. You really want to get value out of that second route. Now, this mage is playing really aggressive, but mages are generally close to impossible to kill, especially as our composition with no purge. So I try to punish the mage and tell my paladin to stun the mage to stop crowd control, but you can see not really able to do too much damage. Usually better to just allocate mages as a crowd control target if you're going to play a balanced druid composition, unless you have a purge available or a mage on your team who can then strip off the shields as well with kleptomania if it's necessary. But main focus is crowd control to mage. Here we're trying to get prepared for an attack. We have no medallion on our paladin. We have no medallion on myself. So now that they've landed a poly, I try and knock the mage away. I stand on top of their target, and I use Disorienting Roar, and I actually opt to Solar Beam the mage to interrupt the crowd control chain. With this composition, you don't always need to crowd control the paladin. You're actually a really good paladin killer. So we had at this point decided we're going to start attacking paladin. So I wanted to use Solar Beam to interrupt polymorph, break up our chain, and then get aggressive. If you're going to kill paladin, then when you're dealing damage to the paladin, you need to cyclone the feral druid or hibernate the feral druid. And here you can see stun the paladin, cyclone the feral druid, war stomp the feral druid. You got to make sure that both of the healers are not able to heal. And as a result, we get Divine Shield. If we had ignored the feral druid, we would not have got Divine Shield. They would have taken absolutely zero damage. This is why it's very important to allocate crowd control. But mass roots off cooldown, time to just root them, annoy them, try and make it annoying for them to position. Use Disorienting Roar to break up crowd control chains. I tried to do it here, but I could have done a better job. Now Combustion is popped, so my Death Knight will use Anti-Magic Zone. This is a really good trade if you're playing with the Death Knight, and you want to just spam Cyclone on damage dealers whenever your healer is crowd controlled, which you can follow here. If you're wondering what add-ons I use, I have an add-on video, and I'll link to it at the end of the video here. But now we Cyclone the Paladin. We've really got to decide what we want to do here. The Paladin has no Divine Shield for 5 minutes. They would be a good target, so I tell my Death Knight to Death Grip. We grip them into a stun. The Feral Druid avoids the stuns, but I can use Solar Beam to interrupt the Feral Druid's heal. Ultimately, not really able to net the kill. The Paladin used the medallion and escaped the stun, so we were pretty much at a net loss at that point. Here I use Typhoon to knock the mage again off the edge, and I try and go for Cyclone, but I'm interrupted. When you're interrupted, you can use Disorienting Roar. I should have moved closer to the mage. I could have disoriented the mage. Just a small correction. You want to try and hit as many targets with Disorienting Roar as possible, just to be as annoying as possible, and that's like your fail-safe fallback if you get kicked on Cyclone. Then I'm just cycling the Feral. I'm just building Eclipse. I'm just getting ready for my Death Knight's Death Grip. This is where we have a miscommunication. Why this game actually ends up being a 2 versus 3 is my Death Knight wants to go really aggressive on the Paladin. No trinket, no bubble. Makes a lot of sense. My Paladin doesn't. They're standing 80 yards away in the back, and then they try and cross, and then while they're crossing, they get crowd controlled. Now, in this instance, my Paladin should likely use bubble and spam heal, because we're about to win the game. If we stun their Paladin here and crowd control their Feral Druid, we will kill their Paladin. I have Celestial Alignments, but we chose to sit crowd control and we died. You can see how just that one decision. But I still have all of my damage. I still Celestial Alignment. We still have that condition where the Paladin has no trinket or bubble. It's never over until it's over. Okay? So I need to survive their combustion. I pop Bark Skim. I get ready to try and off heal, but I really want to knock the Paladin to my Paladin, get on top of him, dump as much damage as possible, pop all of my cooldowns, and with all of my cooldowns, in Solar Beam interrupting the Feral, using Trinket to escape crowd control, and making sure my Astral Power bar was maxed out, I can get a one-hit KO completely by myself with all of my cooldowns and proper cross crowd control, which allows me to 2v3. So you can see that if we had just committed while we were all alive, we probably would have killed the Paladin 500 times faster and not been dead. And this is something you really want to pay attention to when you're committing for a kill, is pay attention. There's no Divine Shield. Paladin can't immune damage. No Medallion. Paladin can't trinket stun. Crowd control the Feral so the Feral doesn't heal him. You got a dead Paladin. Even by yourself, you got a dead Paladin. But now that we're in a 2v3, they're committed to spamming Polymorph on my Paladin and stunning me. So I want to try and be in bear form every time that I see my Paladin in Polymorph. This will just reduce damage on myself. I can use Frenzied Regeneration, but I would likely only use it for combustion in a 2 versus 2 like this. You want to use Typhoon as an interrupt. I use it there to stop Cyclone. I can use Disorienting Roar as well in this position, but my main goal is to stun the Feral and try and activate Eclipse to get my balance of all things legendary, to give my Star Surges basically 100% crit, and try and burst down the Feral while they can't heal in a stun. You could flip this strategy to Cyclone the Feral and stun the Mage. These are both viable strategies. You do just want to maximize your damage onto both targets in between. This way the Feral Druid can't allocate their healing as easily. I use Disorienting Roar during Bash to try and slow down their crowd control, and then I jump into bear form to make sure that I'm durable in case they end up landing it a little bit later. This team is also probably trying to figure out what's going on and maybe a little bit flustered that their Paladin ended up dying just to 2 players, but again, main plan is just keep dots up, do damage to both targets as much as possible, and when your Paladin gets Hammer of Justice, communicate that so that you can hard cast. Here I'm casting 2 Wraths, I'll proc Eclipse, I drop my Fury of Elune, and I dump all of my Star Surges. You can see we stun the Feral, I do damage to the Mage, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you're timing that Eclipse trigger with your Paladin stun. Here I Solar Beam the Mage, it stops combustion on their Mage, and I could be spamming Cyclone in this position, but we have them so low on health that it feels like just doing damage, innervating my healer so they can free heal would be better. And so I'm just rotating right next into the next Eclipse. You want to make sure you've capped out all your Astral Power. I Wild Charge through them and just disorient them here. I'm really just trying to stop Fireballs to prevent it from resetting combustion, which can be a good strategy when you know that Polymorph isn't a big deal. Against a comp like this, I'm pretty durable, especially without a third player like the Paladin to do additional damage to me. So I can just jump in bear form, Frenzy Regen, run around the corner, line Fireballs, wait for my Paladin, and I'm really just waiting for Hammer of Justice. Everything pivots for me around the Paladin's Hammer of Justice. Their Feral Druid now has no way to escape a stun, so it would be really good this next stun. I would like to get 1 spell away from triggering Eclipse, so in this position I could cast 1 Wrath, but I'm actually more focused on defense. We're about a minute now into dampening in this game for 3s. So just make sure I'm alive while my Paladin is CC'd. We go for Hammer of Justice. This is where you want to cast 2 Solar Wraths when you've got a stun, and then just Star Surge, Star Surge, Star Surge, Star Surge, Instant Lunar Strike, Star Surge, Instant Lunar Strike, Fury of Elune, whatever you want to press. Just that's when you want to trigger your Eclipse to get your balance of all things crit buff, is when you got Hammer of Justice, especially against a lot of these hybrid teams. In between, you can just trigger your Eclipse, but when you know that Hammer of Justice is coming up, you want to save it. so that you can guarantee a lot of burst damage. And even with saving it, this game has gotten to the point where I think we ended up winning with Celestial Alignment. Here they land a double invisible ring. They just put a patch through that there's going to be no more double invisible rings, by the way, but combustions pop. My paladin trades medallion to escape stun and run behind the pillar. I disorient the mage, and I root the mage out of line of sight. Again, make sure you're abusing mass entanglement as much as possible. You don't want to just only be rooting for Solar Beam. You can get another cycle of roots, and you want to be maximizing that for maximum efficiency. I mean, I just saved a lot of damage on my paladin by just rooting the mage at a line of sight. Here I cycle on the mage at low health. I'm just waiting for Hammer of Justice. We're going to proc our Eclipse with Celestial Alignment and then dump all of our Star Surges, and we banked up all of our Astral Power. Then we'll just free cast and try and build up more until the target is dead. So it's like you build up all your damage, you bank it, and then you dump it. And that's kind of the main staple for Moonkin DPS at the moment. And if you pull that off, you're going to start having a lot of success. Like I say, if you want to play this and you're a newcomer to Arena, I would recommend Night Fae Boomkin, and I would actually recommend Venthyr Holy Paladin. The combination of Ashen Hollow, Convoke the Spirits, and Abomination's Limb is really deadly. That is the biggest. I don't actually know if there's a bigger combo of abilities in the game. This is like the secret Exodia combo, and I'm very sad that I'm not Night Fae, and my Paladin doesn't have a Venthyr Paladin. I'm leveling a Night Fae Balance Druid, but when you combine those together, Ashen Hollow, Convoke, and Abomination's Limb, and Solar Beam, it's just this. It's just like it's a really nice moment. So if you're interested in getting buddies together, trying it out, I would recommend those covenants. Not to say you can't make these ones work. Double Kyrian, Boomkin, Kyrian Paladin. We just got 3K with it. We're gonna keep playing it. Check out my stream, twitch.tv/Supatease. Follow there if you want to see me playing live. I'll be uploading more videos like this as well, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you enjoy this type of content. Once again, thank you very much for the support, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.